Rolling.
Mic check.
Hello, hello.
It's your fault.
Hey, this is Tranceportal, and we're here in Ministry of Sound on their 30th birthday in the box, which is, for those that haven't been here, which is the main room. And this is part of a 3-show birthday celebration. Tonight being part 1 with Paul Van Dyke, legends like Tall Paul, Judge Jules, Simon Patterson, Will Atkinson, and of course me, the main ticket driver, me. And yeah, so I'm joined by Viktoria. We're going to ask her a couple of questions. Okay, how does that?
No,
Good?
that's the other way around. I'm going to be asking you questions,
Okay,
but
all right.
your introduction was spot on.
There we
so
go.
I'm not going to even attempt to do it better than you.
No, that's the introduction done.
That's the introduction done
Okay.
by John Askew. So my first question is, when exactly did you start DJing?
Oh. I think I first got decks in 1993. But I played my first gig in 1994 or 5. I can't remember which. 4 or 5 is where I started playing in clubs.
And when was your first gig at the Ministry of Sound?
I started working for Ministry of Sound in their office in, I think it was the end of 1999 or the beginning of 2000. And then because they did the big they did a big New Year's Eve show at the Dome in London, and they did a one-off gig in the club here, and I DJ'd at it, and they said, look, we really like what you did. Would you come and not be on the bill for the night, but because there were loads of people like Tiesto and Ferry Corsten and all these guys that were doing more than one gig on the same night, they said, like, some people are going to be arriving late, some people are going to be needing to leave early. We're going to just need someone to go in and fill in these gaps. Would you do that? And I was like, yeah, playing in front of fucking 15,000 people, or however many it was in the Dome, it was ridiculous. So I did that, and some of the bits I did were 15 minutes, some were 45 minutes. It was quite an interesting night, quite a messy night. I left that night with no shoes on, and it's winter. And then because of that, the next week they said, look, that was epic. Do you want to have a residency at the club? And I was like, fuck yeah, for sure. And then I started playing in the club it was once a month. And then sorry. So basically then started doing that for three or 4 years.
Because you said you started working for Ministry. Was it than DJ?
I was already working for Ministry when all of this happened. So I was running their radio business for them. I came in as a radio syndicator, and then my boss got fired, and I ended up stepping in to do his job, and ended up just carrying on doing his job for ages, and then I left. But I had the residency at Ministry. And then during that period, I played a gig in Los Angeles for Ministry of Sound, and the recording of that gig ended up in the hands of Downey Newman, who ran the gallery at Turnmills, and he then persuaded me to leave Ministry of Sound as resident and go and be resident at Turnmills for the gallery. And I was there for about 5 years, and then the gallery, funnily enough, moved back to Ministry of Sound. They moved to Ministry of Sound when Turnmills shut. So then I came back here. So I've played on and off in this club, in this room, for 20 years.
So you're back where you started?
Yeah, it really is. It's full circle.
Is it here where your career really kicked off?
Yeah, because before this, I was predominantly doing like clubs in the West Country, a lot of stuff in Bristol, a lot of stuff like the UFO club at Longleat. I was playing quite a lot in south of the river in Brixton, and underground clubs like the 414 on Cold Harbour Lane.
Legendary. I can't believe
it's just sort of underground stuff like that. SE1 club, Yeah, just the really underground scene was doing a lot of stuff. The Fridge in Brixton as well. But it was here that I started playing, you know, what they were calling super clubs in those days. And from there is, I guess, where my career really started to take off. Yeah. So I kind of, Ministry has a special place in my story, if you like. Yeah.
So you mentioned Downey. Is there anyone else who is big, like right now, that you used to work with, that is involved?
Well, Danny Newman, was the owner of Turmills. He is the brother of Paul Newman, who is the DJ, Tall Paul.
Okay.
So they're the Newman brothers, and their dad, who was a legend, owned Turmills, and then they took it on from him. And so Danny and Paul owned Turmills. Who were the other big players? What, here at Ministry?
Yeah.
I mean, the really big players back then, Ferry Corsten was really big, Armin was really big playing here. Armin was just like a really hot up-and-coming trance DJ then. He wasn't the megastar he is now, but he was really, really hot, same as Ferry. They were kind of on a level together. And Paul Oakenfold and Paul Van Dyke were the kings, really. Because actually, while I was working for Ministry of Sound, was when we did Paul Van Dyke's compilation album, The Politics of Dancing, the first one. That was Ministry of Sound who released that, and that was while I was working for Ministry of Sound that we did that album. So, yeah, so there's another full circle, you know, it's... Yeah, that's good. Nice one. Just turn all the fucking visuals off.
Have you ever been at Ministry as a raver?
Yes. I've often finished playing and gone down to the dance floor and carried on raving for the night. And when I worked in the office, like when I worked for Ministry, the company, we used to go out like on the Smash in Soho and stuff, and we would always end up coming back to Ministry and just cutting loose here. It was...
What nights were there back then?
So they had a night called Smooth, which was kind of more R&B and like UK garage and shit like that. And then the Friday, or was that on the Friday? I can't remember. And then the other night was just house music, you know, good quality house music. People like Masters at Work and David Morales, Roger Sanchez, you know, people like that every week. So it was just good, solid house. I mean, this room, the way the room is designed, the shape of the room, which you don't see because it's all so blacked out, but the shape of the room is designed in a specific way that wherever you stand in the room, the sound, it doesn't sound like it's coming from any particular direction. It's very clever how it was designed. But this sound system never sounds better than when you have house music playing through it. And that's not to say that, you know, trance music doesn't sound fantastic on it as well, but it's a super sweet sound system that when you stand in the middle of the floor, you can feel the bass kind of compressing your chest, but you can stand next to someone and talk to them quite clearly and hear each other quite clearly, even though it's astronomically loud. It's quite an unusual
I know exactly
sensation.
So while we're still on the subject of the Ministry,
yeah,
I need a story from you. A funny story, a crazy story, any story that is worth revealing that happened in the green room.
Oh, in the green room? Shit, well... See, the person to ask that question to would be Gavin Mitchell. Gavin Mitchell was the main man, like managing the gallery. When the gallery was here every single Friday night, he was the guy that was like taking care of the night. And that green room...
I've seen a lot.
Yeah, he's seen a lot. And he was always at the epicenter of chaos. So
Just one story.
You know what, I don't know if I've got one. I can tell you a good story of...
I'm sure you have a lot, but you just don't want to talk about them.
No, I do you know, well look, it's all the normal things that you could imagine. People getting up to no good, people having sex in the toilets, people smoking cigarettes, people doing, you know, things they shouldn't be doing. You know, the normal things you would expect in a green room of a club. But actually, one of the coolest things was there's a pub. I don't think it's called the same thing now, but if you come out the front of Ministry and go round the side street, there's a bridge that goes over the middle of a crossroads. There's a crossroads with a railway bridge over the top of it, and there's a pub there it used to be called the Firkin. I don't know what it's called now. It used to be called the Firkin. And when we were all here, we always used to go there for after parties. We'd go there for lunch. And the owner of it was, I believe, an ex-military guy called Ginge. He was Ginger, right? And he would accommodate, no matter how debauched it got, no matter how long the lock-in went on for, he would always accommodate it. And I remember he would stand in the corner, he would play the Ministry of Sound annual really loud, and he would just be there smoking cigarettes, turning the lights on and off to create a nightclub effect. And there was one night when we brought him here to the club and got him so annihilated, got him so smashed, that at 6 o'clock in the morning, we physically, 4 of us, had to carry him back to the pub and then just literally open the door and throw him in. He was an integral part.
Must have been the best night of his life.
Yeah, but he was a legend. Pub landlords ought to all, accommodate the party like that. He was a legend.
Slightly changing the subject,
Yeah.
I've had a rumor that you have branched out to create the role of a creative director for Drumcode. Is that true?
See, I'm not creative director for Drumcode. I'm creative director at the moment for Bigfoot Management, who represent a multitude of really cutting-edge artists, including Adam Bayer and Drumcode. So I'm working with them, and I'm working with Drumcode on various projects, but it's not specifically Drumcode's creative director. I just sort of am involved in various projects at the moment. So the E-Dancer album that's just coming out, 250th release on Drumcode, just sort of overseeing the artwork for that project and what the album looked like, what the vinyl box set looked like. That was something I was involved in. But it's been an amazing experience. Really cool guys, phenomenal people to work with, and just learning more and more every day. I've loved the fact that through all of my career, I've been a promoter, I've been a booking agent, I've been a manager. I've run record labels. I've been involved in distribution. And I think it's good to have this knowledge of every single aspect of it, so that you can always understand what people are fucking talking about when you're in a meeting, but also so that you can understand and be sympathetic towards, for example, a DJ's needs when he's on the road. If I get a phone call on a Saturday night from Will Atkinson and I know he's in Japan, my wife might be annoyed that I'm picking up the call, but I have to, because I've been in situations before when you're on the other side of the planet, and if he's calling at an awkward time, it means he needs me to pick up. So, and I think it's having that experience, having traveled and done all that shit myself, that it's an invaluable thing. So yeah, learned a lot from those guys. Learned a shitload from working with Paul Oakenfold as well. I owe a lot to Paul Oakenfold for the years I worked with him. Yeah, amazing. 30 years of Ministry of Sound, but also 30 years of Perfecto Records this year.
Nice, huge.
Which is pretty impressive, yeah.
I think it's actually 32.
Oh, is it 32?
I believe they were established in 1989, and that's when I was born. So
see, I tell you why, because there was supposed to be a film crew here tonight who wanted to interview me for 30 years of Perfecto. That's what they said, but yeah, maybe you must be right. I don't know.
It might not be. So now you're immersed.
My memory's atrocious. You probably are.
Now you are immersed in the techno scene. Do you think we will see, we have John Askew, we have Nothing But Rockets. Can we expect that John Askew does techno?
I would actually say a lot of the music I'm making at the moment is sort of techno. It's still 140 to 142 BPM. But, I've always loved techno. Techno has always been a massive part of who I am, and all the DJ sets that I play always have an element of techno in them, so it's nothing new to be involved in it, but I'm not really someone who's going to start making 128 BPM techno, definitely not. My music will always be, you know, a higher BPM and a higher, like, you know, paced music. But I have to say I'm more into, you know, the grittier, the harder, the techier sounds at the moment, because I have to say I'm finding it really hard to find anything in uplifting trance at the moment that inspires me. There's so much of uplifting trance at the moment that to me just all sounds the same. It's like every fucking track sounds the same. And while there are still really great tracks coming out, you have to go through 100 shit ones to find that one. And I think the scene in general is just, it's in dire need of...
It's overwhelmed.
It's just, there's nothing refreshing or new coming out. And I prefer making, you know, music that has like fast, almost trance kick drums and bass lines and percussion. But the everything on top of that is a lot more techy and a lot more based on grooves and the riffs, instead of them being big trance riffs. That's not to say that I'm not making tracks with big trance riffs, but it's all just a lot more edgy, a lot more powerful, in my opinion. You know, that might, yeah, I don't know. Other people might beg to differ, but that's my opinion. I don't know. Uplifting trance right now, I struggle with it, I have to say.
No, you're right. There is a lot of it.
There's just this new wave of really cool tech, and it's what excites me at the moment, and it's what I feel comfortable being involved in and being a part of, and that's where my head's at. And you know, when you hear that music on a dance floor, it's so much more powerful, it's so much more soulful, it's so much more fucking grabbing you by the very core of your emotions, by your heart, you know. Whereas I just find so many of these trance melodies, I've just fucking heard them a zillion times before, and it's not new. It's not new. So until someone comes out, and please, somebody try, I want someone to just fucking excite me. You know, artists like Everlight, they excite me. That music fucking excites me. I love it. But yeah, I mean, I'm still into it, but it's 1 in every 100 tracks. So, but anyway, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Slightly changing the subject, your latest merch. I really like the idea, I really like the design. Raver, implementing the 7.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea? What's the inspiration behind it?
Well, so I've launched this kind of crypto coin, and I know everyone's like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? But actually, you know, the future is probably a cashless society. Crypto is going to be a major part of the financial world. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. And actually, this gives people an opportunity to get involved in brands and actually reap the rewards. So for example, let's say I sell a track, right, for one of the Askew coins, an Askew coin, and you buy that for, let's say it's worth $1, right? So you pay me $1, you buy a coin, and then you get the track, right? So that's a straightforward exchange. But then you've also got the coin.
Yeah.
And if that coin goes on to be worth $500, you've still got your track and you've earned $500. So it's a double kind of investment. So I'm experimenting with it at the moment. We've got plans to kind of expand into it a little bit more.
You're
but
planning
I'm
on
just
expanding to NFTs?
Well, we're talking with various different companies about various different things. I think only an ignorant person would not be looking into these things, because they are going to become an integral part of the future. And so I mean that from the perspective of artists. Artists ought to be doing this. They ought to be looking into this, because it will be, and it's a great new way, you know, having a Discord server and being able to create new ways of talking to your community and giving the music straight from the studio instead of having to go via fucking Beat or Spotify. You know, here's a track that's finished, it's yours, take it. You know, I like that instantaneous thing. You know, it's much cooler. So yeah, it's something I'm exploring. It's something I'm doing. There's still, you know, issues. There's still bits that we're fine tuning, but it's something I'm definitely committed to.
Wicked. It was lovely chatting to you, John.
Yeah, thanks. Really
Thanks
appreciate it.
for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to your set.
Keep watching Tranceportal. Cool.
That's right.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Cheers. It was lovely. Thank you.
Right, you ready to go, yeah?
Yes.
We'll open this up now.
Yeah, sure.
Dogs passing, dogs walking, men passing, dogs passing, dogs